Get down.
Don't be afraid, won't let you fall, girl. Don't be afraid, won't let you fall, girl.
Get down.
Don't be afraid, won't let you fall, Don't be afraid, won't let you fall.
Welcome to Lift Free number 5. They are doing construction in here today, so if things are a little bit noisy, I'm going to try to do my best to talk over them so you guys can hear me. All day today, I'm going to make use out of the barbell. So if you guys are not comfortable with one of the movements that we've been working on, whether it's the snatch, the clean, the jerk, by all means, if you need to do this with a PVC pipe or a broomstick, feel free. Always technique over weight. Number one thing, always technique over weight. If we rush the weight, almost always as soon as things get beyond the capacity that we're used to working at, whether that's 70%, 80%, anytime we get up to that point, if our technique is not strong, efficient, we have a good foundation, what ends up happening around 80% is we end up losing that technique and we try to over muscle things. So this is what this time needs to be used for, is to perfect the technique, and then we can always add weight after that. We're going to get started in our snatch work today. We're doing a complex just like we've been building off of in previous sessions. We're going to do a snatch push press into an overhead squat, into a snatch balance. This is more of a primer for our snatch work that we will follow this up with. So we have to note that doing these snatch push presses, overhead squats, snatch balance, this is where your timing and your coordination comes from. So we're trying to focus our timing component on all this work to be done. It's not about just throwing weight on and going right into our snatches. It's about getting our coordination patterns proper, especially if this is one of the first times that you've lifted this week. So in our work, we have that snatch push press first. Anytime that we're doing the snatch push press, what I'm looking for is the elbows underneath the bar. So we're really trying to pull those elbows underneath, keep the chest up nice and tall. If this stays as your form, the bar is going to go right from your shoulders directly overhead. When the elbows get to be pointed backwards, that's when we end up dipping the chest forward. And when we drive, now there's a massive movement, either scooping the bar forward and back, or there's a massive movement pushing the bar out in front of us. So we just have to make sure that everything stays nice and strong. So in our snatch push presses, chest stays up, weight stays back into the back portion of my feet. During this dip, I'm going to really work on pulling myself down. So using my hamstrings, pulling myself down and driving that bar off of my shoulders. Anytime you are push pressing, whether it's from the front or the back, our main component of timing is as soon as we finish that drive, as soon as it pulls us up into our toes, we are trying to get our heels right back down to the ground, so we end up pushing through a solid base. If we stay up in those toes in a prolonged period of time, you're going to stay up in the toes, we have no balance or power initiated in this. So as soon as that bar gets that initial dip and drive, the bar moves up, and then we lose all of the power of our press. So again, that push press, dipping, keeping the chest up, dip, drive, strong lockout overhead. We are going to do 3 of these snatch push presses. So bringing the bar down. Also work on the timing of that bar coming down and your body absorbing the bar onto your back. It's a skill in and of itself. So again, focusing on the technique, even lowering the bar, working the eccentric patterns of the movement as well as the concentric. It's also important, and it gives you an opportunity to build more strength. So 3 snatch push presses into my overhead squat. Once I go into my overhead squat, I should have been snatch push pressing from my feet underneath my hips. I'm going to take a wider stance, give myself a little more space, chest up, really stacking everything nice and strong in the shoulder blades. 1 overhead squat, bring the bar back down, walk my feet back into my snatch balance. Remember the snatch balance, dip, drive. When I catch the bar, my feet should also be hitting the ground. Nice strong lockout, and then lowering myself down to that overhead squat. The more comfortable you get in this pattern, the faster the transition between that dip, dive, drive, press and the overhead squat is going to be. So dip, drive, lock out, and then nice, slow, controlled down into that overhead squat. One of the major things that I want our focus to be on in this is how we're absorbing that bar in our shoulders. So what we're looking for when that bar is up and overhead, so I will use my PVC pipe for this. So when that bar is up and overhead, I'm not shrugging my shoulders up to the ears. As soon as my shoulders shrug, my shoulders start to internally rotate. Now, once this happens, if you watch my back, just biomechanically speaking here, right? So once this shoulder rolls in, we lose all of this nice lat and back strength. Your lat is going to be one of the biggest things that is supporting the load that's up and overhead. So as soon as that shoulder internally rotates, all of the focus and all of the pressure that's being put up over your head now goes into your elbow and your wrist and then the front part of the delt as well. So we have to make sure that we're not like screwing everything back and making this more of a lean back into our overhead squat. We're just supporting that load, everything down here. So what I like to tell people is instead of shrugging the shoulders up, think to pull the shoulders down and back. So we can think of the shoulder blades pulling down and back, and now we have a nice supported load for that bar to sit on. When you're warming up, this is something that you can focus on. You can focus on each individual movement of this complex, a snatch push press. Try to feel that weight nice and secure overhead. Make sure that you're putting it exactly where you want it. Overhead squat, make sure you're pulling yourself into the overhead squat, not just diving down into the squat. Snatch balance, make sure your timing is right. So then when we move into the actual movement of the power snatch and your full snatch, you don't have to slow yourself down. You don't have to overthink it as much. I'm going to do a couple of these sets with you. Hopefully that will help you guys kind of see what they're supposed to look like. And I'm just going to add weight as I see fit.
came along. Fall in love and tear it down as soon as we wake up. Promise you the world tonight, show you what I've got. Your body speaks my language and you read me like a book. This night means forever and so does me and you. We say we love, we say we love. We gave it all, we gave it all. We say we love, we say we love. But we were just innocent until
Now that we finished up our snatch primer, we're going to go into actual snatch work now. We're doing what's called a halting snatch, power snatch, and then we'll move into a full snatch. So in the halting power snatch, it's just going to be controlling the movement from the floor to the bottom of the knee. Once we get up to the bottom of the knee, then we start creating that speed. So last week we talked about the change of speed from the floor to the knee, change of speed from the knee to the hip, and then change of speed from the hip to that overhead position. It's going to be the main focus today, but now we get a little bit more speed and a little bit more time to get more speed into the bar. So by the time we get that halting power snatch, when we pause, you need to be fully under control of the bar. So we're taking the bar from the floor to the bottom of the knee, holding, going into that power snatch from that position. So that halt is just about 1 second, maybe 2 seconds at the most. And then we start to create speed from the power of our legs. So we're driving our feet into the floor, extending strong through the hip, and then timing that bar up and overhead. We'll then drop the bar, and then we have a full snatch second. So no halt in the secondary movement. Once we go into that full snatch when the bar is on the floor, getting set up, yes, the movement is still slow from the floor. Then we start picking up speed from the knee to the hip, and then it's everything as fast as you can from the hip underneath. Timing of the movement is also super important. So we'll demonstrate here with the PVC pipe. First movement is going to start from the floor. So bring that bar down to the floor, keeping the chest up nice and strong. Weight is positioned in the front part of the foot, not the heel being raised up. So making sure that the heel is staying down. The majority of our mass is centered on right where our toes connect into our foot. So the ball of your foot, right to that middle part of the foot. So once we get set, chest is up, shoulders are over the bar, elbows are pointing out. I'm going to start to stand. Quick little pause here right below the knee. So again, 1 second. So I stand, 1 second. And now all the power is generated from my legs driving into the ground and then getting that bar up to the hip and extending nice, fast, and strong. It is a power snatch first, so just make sure that timing is nice and solid and you're catching that bar really, really strong in your catch. So we should be about a quarter squat at the end of the lift. So pause, go, hold. Then we bring that bar back down to the ground. Now it's a full snatch. So movement is still staying the same from the power snatch into the full snatch. If you can power it, you should be able to full snatch. Almost always that full snatch, so getting yourself into the bottom of the snatch is the hardest part. Okay, it's the most complex part and it's the most, I don't want to say terrifying, but I will say terrifying. It's usually where people are afraid because either mobility is not second nature, dropping under is not second nature, but from doing those snatch balances in the snatch primer, you should feel coordinated enough to get yourself down to the bottom of the snatch. If you think about it, if you can power snatch it, you're usually pulling that bar up to about the bottom of the rib cage. Okay, so if we look at the height difference from the bottom of the rib cage to the top of the neck, where the bar is situated in our snatch balance, right? So from here to here, it's not much of a difference. Also, this would be the peak point of your pull. So you still would have to get the elbows underneath and drive yourself underneath in an actual snatch. From here, all we need to do is drop and catch. So the timing is actually very, very similar from here to here. Right, so we're trying to keep that timing as tight as possible and as similar as possible to that snatch bounce. Do your best not to collapse in the bottom of your snatch. Okay, collapsing, diving underneath, that's going to create a world of problems if you are somebody who presses out a lot. If you are somebody who can't get up from the bottom of your squat, whether that's in the clean or the snatch, almost always it's because you are diving underneath and you're catching the bar with no tension in your body. So even if you are strong enough to support the load overhead, if you do catch it in a completely like flaccid body or relaxed body, you're gonna have a hard time standing up. So we're trying to take the strong component of your power snatch, keep it strong in that full snatch. I'll do one quick set with just the barbell so you guys understand what it looks like, and then I'll get into lifting right along with you guys. We have 8 sets of doubles here, going through the halting power snatch and the full snatch 2 times each.
You're like a circle that floats around me, keeping me safe and sound. And when I fall, you tied a rope to me. You're blessing me every day. I was down with an illusion, like a sparrow with broken wings. But now I shine with your reflection on me. I'm getting back up on my feet. That you showed up was written in my palm. You are a statement, explode like a bomb. I get to push myself to victory. You make me winner. You cut me loose and set me free. You make me win in every way. You show me how to spread my wings. Yes, I'm the winner of the day. You cut me loose and set me free. You make me win in every way. You show me how to spread my wings. Yes, I'm the winner of the day. Yes, I'm the winner, yeah. 'Cause I'm the winner, yeah. Am I awake or am I dreaming? So far gone, I won't look back. And when I move, there ain't no stopping me. You're pushing me up to the top. Clouds looking angry, but then the sky reached my mind. And when I space out, I see the possibilities unfolding the way that I want. That you showed up was written in my palm. You are a statement, baby, like a bomb. I get to push myself to victory. You make me winner. You cut me loose and set me free. You cut me loose. You make me win in every way. You show me how to spread my wings. I'm the winner of the day. You cut me loose and set me free. You make me win in every way. You show me how to spread my wings. Yes, I'm the winner of the day. Yes, I'm the winner, yeah.
Nobody's like you. You are not normal at all. No.
Good work on snatches. Moving into our clean stuff, we have a high hang clean, followed immediately by a regular clean. Same setup as the snatch work. We're going to do a high hang clean, clean, high hang clean, clean for 8 total total rounds. When we're working on the high hang clean and the regular clean, major focus here is getting yourself underneath the bar. This is like the biggest fault that I see in cleans. Usually most people are more comfortable in the clean than they are the snatch. I say usually because that's not always the case. But what I typically see is people who are really strong, who over pull the bar, use almost too much power, get the bar way higher than they need, and then they're so fast that they get underneath the bar in more time than necessary. So instead of meeting the bar at the peak height of where the bar, of the trajectory of the bar, they pull the bar super high, get themselves under, and then that bar just comes crashing down. So if you find yourself in the bottom of your cleans, not able to stand up, almost always this is what has happened, is you pull the bar too high, you get underneath it, you catch it, and there's no way that you can stay tight or rebound that catch into your catch and stand. It almost always just jackhammers you to the bottom. So with this work, that's where I want the main focus to be, because we also have to take into consideration the thing that's between the bar and your legs is your spine. So if that bar is coming down on top of your shoulders so hard with no tension, your spine is going to take a load of this. And whether that's going to be in the top part of the back, catching and rounding yourself over, which is a little bit more resilient than the bottom of the back, or it's just going to come and collapse down, and by you staying upright and that bar coming back down, it's going to crank you into further lumbar extension. So that is almost always going to be the main detrimental part of this type of clean. Whether you're standing it up or not, it is loading your spine in a pretty bad way. This is speaking from experience. So if we can avoid that and we can get your technique smoother right now, it's going to make you stronger and it's going to make you healthier in the long run. So high hang clean, any of our high hang stuff, we have that bar in our clean position, so my hands are just outside my thighs. That high hang is just going to be a little bit of a spring load of the leg, and then your chest staying over the bar. So from here, spring load of the leg, chest staying over the bar. All I have from here is the extension of my hip, the pull of my arm, and the quick elbows underneath. So if I load this enough and I'm not able to pull this thing all the way up to here, that means I have to figure out where that bar is going, how high it's getting, and getting my shoulders exactly underneath that bar. Quick, okay? So once I'm here, I spring load the legs, chest stays over the bar. I'm going to extend and catch, and then ride that thing down into my full squat. So again, extend, pull. This is not you coming down and the elbows bending and almost like a change direction type movement. This is you understanding how to extend from the hip, how to create power from your legs, and how to connect properly with the bar. So once we have that high hang clean, when we stand it up, I'm going to drop the bar onto the floor, and now we focus on the same component. So yes, you have to use your legs. Yes, you have to get the bar off the ground, but the positioning should not change once we get to that high hang position. So bar's down at the ground, chest is up, slow, steady to the knee, a little faster. Now I'm in that high hang position. I extend, catch it, stand that thing up. Your feet should be moving. You should be catching it strong with strong legs at the same time. And then we're going to do another set of that for the first round. I'm going to keep probably 35s on here because I have been having an issue of the bar swinging out on me. So I really want to work on my technique, and I'm just going to keep it light today. If you guys want to go up in weight, feel free to go up in weight, but no technical changes should be happening. There should be no jump forward, no jump back. There should be no swinging of the bar when that weight does get heavier. And you also should not be crashing. So if you're finding yourself at a standstill in the bottom of the clean, work on connecting better, work on getting to the bottom of the clean and standing that thing right back up. our last drill is made to be a barbell specific drill. So not much weight on the bar. This is going to be jerk footwork work. So this is a Danny Camargo special. It's a long complex aimed to get you comfortable with your jerk footwork and your jerk positioning. So the movement starts with a push press. You keep the bar up and overhead. Move your feet into your jerk position while the bar is overhead. Then we go from there. We do a press from the split, a jerk balance, recover the feet, a push jerk, a split jerk. We're going to do 3 split jerks at the end, just to kind of keep it spicy. But if you do want to add a little weight with these, you can. Just remember, this is about technique. This is about perfecting movement patterns. This is not about to see how heavy you can do this complex. Okay, we will do this at a later time, so you don't have to go to a 1 rep max of this complex. It's not meant for that, okay? So movements have to be perfect in this. So we'll go over this just really quickly, kind of 1 movement at a time, focusing on what you guys should focus on this entire time. So bar starts in the rack position, chest is up, weight is back. Good strong push press. So you're going straight down to that dip, straight up into that drive, and now the bar stays stacked immediately up and over your shoulders. Bar stays up and overhead. I'm going to move my feet into my jerk position. So back foot should be hitting slightly before the front foot. Okay, slight bent knee, keeping my weight in the back portion of my body. Make sure that it's nice and centered, not too far forward, not too far backwards, no straight back leg. Bar comes down into the rack position. Press from here. So as I'm pressing, I'm squeezing my knees together, keeping my weight nice and strong, but keeping my legs active as well. Bring the bar down. Front foot comes back 1 step. Jerk balance. Dip drive. Step. Front foot hits same time as the bar comes up and overhead. Recover out. Bar comes back down. Weight shifts back. You can tell I'm already out of breath. Dip drive. Move your feet out. Connect with the bar underneath. Bring that bar back down. Feet back together. Now we do 3 split jerks. Keeping all of them looking the same. And rest. So by the time you're done with that complex, your arms should be toast, especially if you're spending a little bit of time overhead doing a slight like isometric fold at the top portion. I'm gonna get after a couple of these. I want you guys to do, not sure yet, I want you to do at least 6 sets. All right, so I'll put up on the screen how many sets I want you guys doing. I do not recall from the program. So we're gonna get after this. We're gonna do it nice and steady and really try to perfect that work.